Yeah. This is our patriarch of Occupy Tacoma. And
do you know how May Day started? It started right here in the USA, more than a century ago, in the city of Chicago in the Haymarket Square. International Workers' Day is as American as a baseball game. It wasn't a communist plot. Neither Lenin nor Trotsky nor Fidel nor Che started Workers' May Day. Did you know that currently, every International Workers' Day, otherwise known as May Day, workers and their allies all over the world march, rally, occupy, strike to honor the memories of the Haymarket martyrs, the victims of a police riot, the cop riot of 1886, over 100 years ago in Chicago at a rally that was called To Fight for the 8-Hour Day. Many of those Haymarket protesters had also fought for the right of women to vote. They fought against racism, for immigrants' rights. They're the fathers and mothers of Occupy Wall Street, the brothers and sisters of Occupy Tacoma. Toward the very end of that lengthy and mostly peaceful rally, a quarter and a century ago in Chicago in the Haymarket Square, someone, probably an agent, a provocateur, threw a bomb, which led to some fighting and gunfire, and the death of some cops and some protesters. Passions were running quite high. The Chicago bosses and plutocrats blamed the attendees themselves for the riot, and they falsely accused 8 protesters of plotting to set off that bomb. They convicted them at a show trial, and they sentenced 6 to die. On the appointed day of the hanging, from the executioner's platform, one of the prisoners said, quote, "The time will come when our silence will be more powerful than the voices you strangle today," unquote. Within just a very few years, this Made in America holiday had spread to many countries, had spread all over the world, becoming an official holiday in 80-plus different countries, honoring all working-class heroes. Now that's the kind of American leadership we protesters can justly be proud of. Most of us 99%ers don't know that this holiday started right here in America and is as American as apple pie. And that's because we, American 99%ers, have a kind of historical amnesia. And that's a big problem for us. Amnesia? Why do I say historical amnesia is a big problem for us? Well, imagine you found yourself wandering in a strange city and you did not remember your name or who you were. Imagine you could not remember where you went to school, worked or lived, or anything about your past. You wouldn't be able to care for yourself. Amnesia would cripple you. And if your amnesia were bad enough that you couldn't remember from second to second, you'd really be in a fix. I knew of a woman like that, with dementia in a nursing home, who had previously lost her husband 15 years before. Every few minutes she'd ask the nurse, "Where's Fred?" If someone told her that Fred is dead, she wept for another few minutes, and then a short time later, she'd forget what she had been told, and she would ask again, "Where's Fred?" In a real sense, the majority of us 99%ers suffer a similar tragedy. We're crippled in our fight for justice because we don't know where we came from. We don't understand that we are a class, and a class apart from the 1%. We don't know our own class history. Oh, sure. Schools teach us a sanitized version of American history. They teach of a revolution 236 years ago without emphasizing that dirty word revolution too awfully much. They tell us a bit about the early 1%, the landowners, the rich, the well-connected, the generals who commanded others to kill, and the founding fathers who were, after all, gentlemen farmers, men of means, owned plantations and slaves. They speak of these founding fathers, note no mention of founding mothers, and they say these men were heroes. The very same men who enslaved the African American, the very same men who committed genocide against the indigenous people, and then they stole their land. And they tell us these men had wisdom and were divinely inspired, following the Holy Scriptures and the Word of God. But we hear precious little of working people, the 99%, who lived under horribly repressive conditions. The farmers, mechanics, the yeomen, the laborers, the slaves, the immigrant workers, and the Native Americans. And the 99% who for generations rebelled against their oppression. That's because they don't want you to know about that. They don't want you to know that the Haymarket martyrs are heroes, working class heroes. They set a bad example, you know. We don't know it was we, the 99%ers, the slaves, the indentured servants, the working stiffs, the dirt farmers, who dug the coal, built the houses and roads, constructed the cities and factories, the schools and the hospitals. It was we who farmed the land, created the railways and the highways. It was we who literally built up America. We're the ones who created the United States basic infrastructure. We, the 99%, not the 1% class, and not the founding fathers. Likewise, all over the earth, it was worldwide labor power that built the basic wealth of the whole world. It was we, the 99% of each and every land, not the kings nor the generals, not the rich nor the greedy, who made human life possible. The 1% will have you believe they deserve to control that wealth because they acquired their money with their financial manipulations by gaming the banking system and gambling with our wealth. But that's just nothing but hogwash. We created the wealth. Money is not wealth. Money is nothing more than a medium of exchange, a way to control the wealth. Wealth is the total sum of goods and services that enable us to live and survive in a society, to feed, to house, to educate and clothe ourselves and our children, to function and to live as a community of people. The basic wealth of our world came from the cooperative labor of millions, not the plutocrats' backroom stealing, cheating, and wheeling and dealing. Our rulers don't want us to know that, because then we might get the notion that we, as the majority, as the creators of the wealth, should control the means of production and the means of distribution of the wealth we created. We might decide that clean air trumps the 1%'s profits. We might decide that feeding the hungry and housing the hopeless trumps the 1%'s profits. We might decide that stopping war and the military-industrial complex trumps the 1%'s profits. We might decide that giving a job to all who would work trumps the 1%'s profits. Hell, we might decide that people trump the 1%'s profits. We created the wealth. We earned the wealth. They took that wealth. That's known as expropriation. Really, it's just plain theft. As Bertolt Brecht, the famous German playwright, once said, "What is the crime of robbing a bank compared to the crime of founding a bank?" Indeed. A person with a gun can rob a bank. But a person with a bank can rob a city, can rob a country, can rob the world, can foment a war, can throw old folks out of their homes and into the streets, can dump sick people without insurance from the hospitals to rot and die like dogs in the gutter, all in the name of making a profit for the corporate elite.
Shame!
Look at the 1% profit system. If they could make a profit from feeding the hungry, clothing the naked, providing health care to all who need it, teaching the unlettered to read, cleaning up the environment, and housing the homeless, employing the jobless, we'd be in a more humane world than our present reality. The 1% are smart. They know we are discontented. They want us to think if we play by the rules, work hard for them, don't grumble too much, we'll be okay. And they tell us that voting is the patriots' way to reform American society. The 1% want us to limit protest to the ballot box. They don't want us in the street. They don't want us occupying. They don't want us to strike. They only want us to shut up and buy, don't blubber so much, don't blubber and cry, to buy and then die, yes, hurry and die before we cost them too much. As I said in my open letter to the mayor of Tacoma, we 99%ers can have no power at all over our lives or society when we restrict ourselves to the ballot box. Voting means every 4 to 6 years we get to choose which corporate zombie rules us. We're like the slaves who get to vote on which of the slave owner's sons gets to run the plantation for the next 4-year term. The liberal slaves want the nice son, the conservative slaves want the bastard. But we Occupy slaves want to seize the plantation, to abolish the slavery system and control the entire plantation, which we built with the sweat of our brows.
Power to the people!
But instead of control over our lives, they give us the two-party system. They offer us no real third choice. The donkey and elephant parties may greatly hate each other, but they are no more than opposing factions of the 1% class. Notwithstanding their mutual bickering and hatred of one another, they both completely support the slave master system. And despite what they promised to us around the election time, they're on the other side. America is sick. We need to be her doctors. To be an effective healer, we must analyze what's going on and to understand the roots of our society's illness. Otherwise, how can we cure her? If we're to cure our country, to revolutionize this land, we need to understand all about our history. History is not some collection of facts and dates about various wars, kings, presidents, generals, emperors, and tyrants over the course of the years. History is about knowing how our country's illness began and the way in which it evolved, and what we must do to cure it. The fate in the future of the human race and deed of tomorrow depends upon each and every one of you who now listen to these words. If we fail to act, the sun won't rise and there will be no tomorrow. Our road to power is direct, non-violent mass action. We need to build for the day we can empower the majority with tactics like a general strike. We need to educate ourselves and the rest of the 99% about our potential power. Working in movements such as Occupy Wall Street, Move to Amend, the anti-eviction Stay in Your Home, the fight against the NDAA, even fighting one more time for the Equal Rights Amendment can teach us and the rest of our class the power of nonviolent mass action. We need to teach ourselves and our class self-confidence as a class, because the 1% are the most powerful rulers in history, with the most powerful military, with incredible wealth and resources. They control most of the media, the means of propaganda, and we need to have the audacity to challenge their rule. Here's a secret the 1% hope that you never learn. Even though the 1% need us, we don't need them. They need our labor power to make their system run. And without our cooperation, they can't do a thing. The plutocrats are the vampires of yesteryear. They sink their thirsty teeth into our jugular vein. We need to drive the stake of refusal straight through their cold and greedy hearts. The corporate power structure is a hideous death machine whose exhaust is poisoning the earth, baking the land with global warming, creating the greatest mass extinction in millions and billions of years, just to have a big profit. The plutocrat's merciless death machine is drowning our mother, the planet Earth. It ruins her oceans, smearing petroleum over the natural beauty of her once lovely face. It rapes her body with mining and drilling, rips open her belly with fracking, cuts off her nipples, removing the tree-covered mountaintops. The plutocracy's death machine spits radioactive toxic sludge that threatens to poison all life for hundreds of thousands of years. That's 15 or 20 times longer than our species of human creatures have walked on the face of this earth. Their death machine keeps on running, with turning gears, with roiling wheels, their drive shaft noisily clattering. A war machine that crushes our youth and spreads fire all over the world and kills the world's sons and daughters. The bosses require our help to run that killing machine that consumes our bodies, that chews us up in its cruel and drooling jaws, our life's red and living blood dribbling all over and down its nasty and filthy chin, staining its snaggle-toothed grin. But we can stop the machine. The instant we just say, hell no, we can jam the stick of refusal into the gears and into the spokes of their terrible clattering murder machine. We can stop it cold if we just refuse to cooperate as the majority class, as the 99%. That's what a general strike is for.
General strike!
We don't need guns or bombs. We need only the power to refuse, the courage to tell them to go to hell. Here's where our power lies. It lies in nonviolent mass action. It lies in our power of refusal to support their death machine. We must mount our power against their power. Power takes a backward step only in the face of power. Our watchword must be this: power to the majority. Power to the 99%. Come on, let's hear it. Power to the majority. Power to the 99%. Louder. Power to the majority. Power to the 99%. Power to the majority. Power to the 99%.
Abolish the
Never
wage
forget,
system.
power takes a backward step only in the face of power. This has been Alan, old student, telling you that in a world where billions of dollars are spent to befuddle you, to stupefy you, education, sober and rational thinking are acts of revolution. Empathy is subversion. Imagination is subversion. Love of the human race is subversion. Love of the future's promise is subversion. Love of the planet Earth is subversion. Guarding the future of our children is subversion. Refusing to submit to despair is subversion. We must say no to the power elite we ripped off of the earth. Justice thunders condemnation of better worlds in birth. If that be revolution, make the most of it. If that be revolution, make the most of it. If that be revolution, make the most of it. If that be revolution, make the most of it. If that be revolution, make the most of it. Long live Occupy Tacoma. Long live the spirit of Mayday. Long live Occupy Tacoma. Long live the spirit of Mayday. Long live Occupy Tacoma. Long live the spirit of Mayday. Long live Occupy Tacoma. Long live the spirit of Mayday. Thank you.
Thank you.
Wow.